Hi guys, welcome to today's painting. This is Paint with Lovejoy. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this video, it is a full length and it can be found on my Patreon page and my Paint with Lovejoy page. So you're going to get real-time narration and step-by-step guidance with this. If you would like to further support Paint with Lovejoy, please check out the various outlets. And for more in-depth courses, please check out Paint with Lovejoy. As always, share this with your community. All right, guys, it's going to be another fun painting, Happy Trees tribute. So grab your supplies, transfer your traceable to your surface, and as always, make sure you take your progress photos. Now, those of you that don't want to do the traceable, feel free to pause the video and draw what you see and then move on to the painting portion. All right, so we are going to start, now that you have your everything on there, we're going to start in the background, and I'm using a medium to a large flat brush, and we're making a light pink. And that is going to be white with a tiny amount of red. You will notice that a little bit of red goes a long way. And we're going to start close to the base of the mountain, kind of filling in that area, and then working our way towards the top. Now, if you are one of my first time and beginner painters, I do recommend that you apply your paint a little bit thicker so that way you have better coverage and it's a little bit easier to blend. You are also more than welcome on any of my videos to switch out colors for your favorite color or something of your choice. Um, Most of these videos are just a guideline for you to follow to take away some of the difficulty of it, but feel free to adapt and change and make this your own. That's half the fun of creativity. So just getting that layer on there. I am painting on watercolor paper. That's why it's taped around the edges. And you can paint on watercolor paper, you can paint on canvas or panel, whatever you feel like doing. Utilize what you have and just basically keep finding regular outlets to paint. So here you can see where we grab some white, we kind of put that as a buffer in between the pink and the next color. So we're doing the blue, which is white with a little bit of blue, and then we're going to be blending that into the white that we applied above the pink, and then maybe just a little bit into the pink. If you would like some purple in your sky, you can skip that white step and mix your blue and your pink to create a really pretty purple. And you want to do all your blending while your paint is wet. This is called wet on wet blending. And do take a progress photo. And we're going to just kind of keep working our way from the top of the canvas, working our way down to the bottom. So we're going to take light blue again, maybe a little bit darker than what we used in the sky. We're going to put the first base layer on for our waterfall and our little lake here. Now, if you have to mix your color 2 or 3 times, don't stress about getting the exact same shade every single time. Having some variety in your paint mixtures, having some variety in your color is really to your benefit, and it makes your painting more intriguing. So again, try not to stress out about getting it perfect or matching everything to what you see on the video. You've got a lot of wiggle room. So here we're going with a medium blue, and that was just a little bit more blue added to our mixture. And this medium blue is going in kind of the lake area and the bottom of that tiny little waterfall. And if you happen to be painting on a stretched canvas, I do recommend carrying these colors when you reach the edge, carrying them around the sides of that stretched canvas. Like I said, I'm painting on a watercolor paper, so that's why it's taped. But when I peel the tape, it'll give me kind of a nice, clean, crisp edge. All right, so we're going to clean the brush really good. We're going to move on to the next color. And if you do feel like taking a progress photo, this would be a good spot to do that. And I want you to take a moment and just be proud of yourself for painting right now. I'm proud of you for painting. And it's one of the few times that you get to impress yourself and transform a blank surface. So we're taking that light blue, making that again, and we're going to add a tiny, tiny amount of black to go for a grayish blue. And if yours is lighter or darker than what mine is, that's okay. If you want to change the color of your mountain, go right ahead and do that. And what I want you to do is pause the video, and I want you to just kind of mimic the placement that I put each of these colors. You are strengthening your power of observation as you watch the video and then apply it to your canvas. And I am going right over those traceable lines, kind of just filling in that space. And as you paint today, you are a magician. You are creating the illusion of this 3D surface, 3D image on a flat 2D surface. All right, now we're going to go in with white. We're just adding more white to that mixture, picking up a little bit of that blue-gray, and then we're going to fill in the remaining space. So what we put in first was the shadows on the mountain to, again, help give this 3D kind of illusion on this flat surface. And I want you to take a deep breath. Remember to breathe. You may be a little bit nervous. That's okay. Perfectly acceptable. Breathe. Maybe laugh at yourself a little bit and then keep on painting. I tell all my students the only way to fail at painting is to not paint at all. So even though you are halfway through or just at the beginning stages of this painting, you are already successful just in your attempting and going through the process. Painting is not about being perfect, but it's about kind of learning and improving your skills with each painting. What you learn in this painting, when you go to paint again, you're going to take those skills into that painting. So now we're still using that same mixture. We're adding a little bit more black, going a bit darker, 1 or 2 shades darker, and we're going to kind of enhance and intensify some of the areas on the shadow sides of the mountain. So again, just kind of observe where I'm placing some of these marks and mimic that to the best of your ability on your canvas. And again, if you happen to do something a little bit different than what I do in the video, just embrace it and keep on painting. This is a great place to just kind of relax, escape the world for a little bit, and just do your thing. And there's a lot of satisfaction into transforming this white surface, this blank surface, into something you created. So again, permission to just get lost in the process today. So again, here you can see where we're taking that slightly darker gray and just intensifying a few areas on the mountain. This is something that when you look at it from a distance, it makes a little bit more sense. So as we go through the painting today, every now and then, feel free to get out of your chair and look at your painting from a distance of 5 to 10 feet away. Do take that progress photo, and now we're going to move into a mixture of yellow and green. And we're laying the first base colors on our grassy area before we put our trees in. And just like with the mountains and even the water, don't worry if you have to mix your color a second or third time and there's a slight variation. Don't worry if your color is a little bit different than what I have on the screen. Just the fact that you are painting, you are already successful. And you are strengthening your power of observation, you're strengthening your creative skills with each painting that you do. And a moment ago, you did see that I moved up to a bigger brush. So as you go through the painting process, feel free to kind of switch back and forth between your brushes, find what is comfortable for you. And it doesn't mean you have to stick with just one thing. You want to keep kind of experimenting and find what's comfortable for you. And then even once you get comfortable, maybe try something different to see if that works a little bit better with the current knowledge that you may have after painting a few paintings. So that little bottom right-hand corner, we did use more of the direct green, a little bit darker. And then we're going to take some of that leftover green on our brush and just kind of apply it to the other area. So another good spot to pause the video, take your progress photo. You guys are doing great. I'm really proud of you. You're going to clean that brush really good. We're going to go with some white paint. And we're going to just put a few little hints of clouds in the sky. And really all I'm doing is just kind of tapping the brush against the sky. The sky is dry at this point, and just kind of giving a little hint of clouds. They look like little cotton candy pieces. If your background is still a little bit wet, it may pick up some of those colors. That's okay, because in real life, the clouds do pick up the colors from what's around it. And if you don't feel like putting clouds in your sky, you can skip this step. Again, it's just that direct white and just kind of this little tapping method, sometimes holding that brush perpendicular to the canvas and almost stabbing the canvas creates a really cool texture. try a few different ways of applying this while you're holding the brush. So now we're going to go down to a slightly smaller brush, and we're going to make a very, very light gray. So I pulled a little bit of that white aside, tiny amount of black. Oh, going a little bit darker. Sorry about that. So we're going for a dark gray. Yeah, dark gray. And again, kind of using that same kind of tapping method that we used for the clouds and intensifying some of these shadows on the mountain. Again, you're just going to observe where this is placed and mimic that to the best of your ability. Do trust your instincts, and if you're inclined to put this shadow element somewhere I do not, go right ahead and do that. Trusting your instincts in the creative realm is a safe place to do that, and the more that you can trust your instincts here, the more likely you are to trust them in other areas of your life. And your instincts are pushing you in the direction you need to go for whatever it is that you may be doing. So now we're doing a mixture of white and green. This kind of gives us a cool green. And at that kind of the horizon line at the base of that mountain, we're doing little vertical dash marks, little vertical lines. We're imagining that these are trees far off in the distance, and they would be smaller because they're far off in the distance. And they don't have to be perfect. We're just giving the illusion that we have this kind of line of trees or this indication that there's a forest way off in the distance by the horizon line. And you can't imagine that each of these horizontal lines is possibly like the tree trunk. And then now we're going in with that tapping method, holding that brush kind of perpendicular and just hitting it and creating the foliage, kind of filling them out. And if you want to go a little bit darker in your color, feel free to do that. So we're going to repeat this process as we move closer into the foreground of the painting and do bigger trees. So that way you're kind of developing this skill of this kind of stippling effect, this kind of tapping of the canvas, and it creates a really fun texture. And for my first time in beginner painters, they end up enjoying this a lot. So I say take your frustrations out as you tap your brush on the canvas or as you're stabbing your brush on the canvas. Very therapeutic. And here you can see where I took some darker green just to kind of break up that lighter green and just tapped it in there. Again, take note, this is not photorealistic and it's not perfect, but it still looks like the illusion of a row of trees at the base of this mountain. All right, so now we're going to go in with blue and a tiny amount of black. I'm just making that blue a little bit darker. And going on the bottom of our pond area or this little lake, whatever you want to call it, and just kind of giving a bit more of an intense shadow. Again, like I said earlier, if you have to mix this color a second or third time, don't stress about the exact same shade every time. And as I'm doing this, I'm just kind of using light pressure, just using kind of the last 2 millimeters of the brush. And this is something that as you look at it from a distance, it just kind of helps push those shadows back, and it allows the lighter areas to kind of pop and jump forward. You're doing a great job. Remember to breathe. We're going to move into a medium blue next, and that is about equal parts blue and white. And just moving right along, filling in the remaining space, and then kind of getting some lines and some indication of the direction of the water movement. We're going to come in with a lighter color in just a moment. But right now they just kind of look like stripes, but you want to give the indication of the top river and then the place where the waterfall happens. I do recommend cleaning the brush pretty good. And now we're going to just add some white or a really light blue while this is wet. Exact same motion that we did with the darker blue, kind of giving the indication of the movement of the water. And you will notice that as you kind of go over the darker blue areas, you may pick up some of that color. It may blend a little bit. Kind of just play with it and go back and forth. You can go back to some darker colors, throw those in there, go back to the lighter colors. This is one of the fun things about blending, is this kind of back and forth. You may go too dark for a minute, and then you go back with your light colors and kind of tone it down, and then maybe it's too much and you go back. But this is where you start to trust your instincts a little bit more and trust your process. So enjoy this, have fun, And when you feel like it looks pretty good, it's okay to stop and move on to the next step. You guys are doing great. So proud of you for painting at home. All right, so now we're going to get some burnt sienna, and we're going to start moving into these larger trees, these happy trees. So I'm still using that medium flat brush. You can use your small pointy brush if you want. And we're going to put the tree trunks in here first, and then we'll be moving into the tapping method for the foliage. But we are going to let these dry a little bit before we do that. So as you're playing with this, you can put more trees on here than I do. You can put less trees if you want. But these are kind of the focal point. So that's why they're going over the background. They're overlapping the mountain. And we will be making these a lot bigger than the trees that we made on that horizon line at the base of the mountain. And then using that tapping method for a little bit of the foliage on the ground. We're imagining that maybe some of the trees fell, maybe they're decomposing a little bit. So doing this tapping method kind of gives that indication of color there, gives a little impressionistic feel, and also starts to create some nice texture. And when you look at a landscape painting, or even when you're looking at a landscape in real life, you do notice there's a lot of different textures. So in the painting world, we try to emulate that just a little bit. And it just kind of gives a nice feel for the painting. So do take your progress photo. I do recommend letting those tree trunks dry before you move into this. And this is a black and green mixture. And we're going with that stabbing method. So I am holding the brush perpendicular to the canvas, kind of tapping it on there, and then filling in the space. So if you want, feel free to rewind this and watch it again. Notice where I kind of made these angled lines from the top of the tree trunk and then kind of flared them out and then filled in the space. Try that with yours. Your trees may look a little bit different than mine. That's okay. They're still going to look like trees. And we're going to kind of repeat this process on each tree trunk to where you start at the top, maybe angle out these little lines, and then they get a little bit longer as you move down the tree trunk, and then fill in the space. And again, we're using that green and black mixture, going pretty dark. We will let this dry, and then we'll put some lighter colors to break up that space on top of it. Another thing to note is your trees are close together, so they are going to overlap. So it is okay once you do one tree and then start overlapping those branches with the other tree. And I do apologize. I think I had a filming issue to where I lost some of that footage. So feel free to pause the video, fill in all your trees, and then pick up this area when you're done with your trees. So now, with the same application, we're using a yellow and green mixture for the ground and just doing that same tapping method. You're doing great. Go at your own pace. Remember to breathe and just get lost in the process. Now we're using a bit more of the direct green to just give a little bit more intensity and different colors in there. And just like when we were doing the water, kind of going back and forth with the different shades, a lighter green shade, a darker green shade, do the same thing here. Just kind of play with it, trust your instincts, go back and forth. And when you kind of step away from your painting and you go, oh, that looks pretty good, that is a good stopping point. So we're going to keep doing this on the ground, and then we will, when our trees dry, we're going to go back and do some yellow-green mixture to lighten up some of the trees. All right, good place to pause the video, take your progress photo, and then here we're going to use some white first. We're still letting those trees dry and doing the tapping method for where the waterfall is going over the edge. And again, this is the exact same tapping method that we used for the trees, for the ground, and for the clouds. For the waterfall, you do want to be grabbing that pure white and being a little bit heavier handed with it, just so that way we have a little bit thicker intensity and a bit more of that pure white for that waterfall. All right, now we're going back to that yellow and green. And I'm still using that kind of small flat brush. And we're doing a yellow-green mixture, and we're going to be doing the same thing on top of the trees. We're leaving some of that dark green underneath, and then tapping these lighter colors on top of it as if it's the highlights. Again, another place to kind of do a few trees, get this lighter shade on there, and then look at your painting from a distance. And as you're looking at it from a distance, go, you know what, maybe I need a little more green here. Maybe I need a little more yellow in this spot. Maybe I need to go back to the darker shades and reapply it. But have this conversation with yourself and with your painting. And this is a conversation that you're going to take into everything that you paint. So this is also you learning to talk and trust your instincts. And this will basically kind of be the final step. So again, kind of get this painting to where you like it. You have been given some simple tools for completing this, and it's now kind of up to you to make this painting work for you or just kind of play with it. And please don't wait too long to do your next painting. I'm here to help. I'm here to encourage. And I'm so proud of all my students that have painted, that have moved on to harder things, or that just enjoy the process. So thanks for hanging out and happy painting. Cheers.